Welcome back to No HUD, everyone, and in today's video, I want to talk about one of the more popular positions in the NFL, which are very polarizing among NFL fans, and that is the wide receivers. Some of the more talented football players on the field. They are absolute highlight-making machines, greatness personified with Jerry Rice and Randy Moss obviously playing in this position. But despite that, wide receivers, for some inexplicable reason, have a reputation to be some of the weirdest/worst people that you will ever know. This is obviously in the light of the Puka Nacua news, in which he allegedly bit someone and now he's apparently in rehab. It feels like, with the exception of Justin Jefferson, a lot of these wide receivers can be separated into a category of them just being really weird people and then being either weirdos, divas, having trouble with the law, or having a combination of all three traits. And in today's video, I wanted to take a look at a bunch of NFL receivers, or a bunch across NFL history, and separate them across these four NFL categories. Take a nice stroll down the lane that we call this insane asylum of NFL wide receivers, and also try to dissect the real facts and try to wonder why these grown men that play this position, why do they act like this? If you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more, please subscribe. Otherwise, you will get spat on by Ja'Marr Chase in a future NFL game. And overall, just enjoy the video. So our first category of NFL receivers overall is the weirdo tier. These aren't guys these aren't bad people by any means. They're overall just goofy people that have you questioning their sanity every once in a while with what they do, such as Odell Beckham Jr., who, despite being an incredible receiver in his prime, did some very weird things, like stare at a solar eclipse one year, or allegedly having a poop fetish. That's what one IG model once said. I beg your pardon. Bro was playing with Eli Manning for so long that now he's obsessed with poop or something like that. To each their own, Odell, I guess. But speaking of fecal matter, we can also talk about DeAndre Hopkins, who in 2013 allegedly trashed a hotel room and left it completely filled with piss and poo. I guess that's just a trait of his. Or what about Golden Tate, who apparently pooped himself during an NFL game? What the hell is these wide receivers' obsession with poo? I have absolutely no idea. But to round out some of the weirdos of the NFL, we also have someone like Chad Johnson. He is definitely on the more good side of the weird tier. He's just overall a goofy guy with his on-field antics, like him doing this with the whiteboard, or him trying to bribe a ref with $1. He's just a very funny guy. Or what about Chase Claypool, who was celebrating when his team had no timeouts, or him claiming that he was a top 3 receiver in the league for some reason? Or his partner in crime, Juju Smith-Schuster, with his TikTok dances in 2020. Thank God Von Bell put an end to that really quickly. And I suppose this is where our good friend Puka Nacua also resides in the weirdo tier. As good of a player as he is, he's also gotten himself into some antics, whether it's his stream with Aiden Ross, or him obviously biting someone and now being in rehab, something like that. I really hope that Puka Nacua recovers quickly and doesn't spiral down, because again, if a talent like that devolves into something terrible, that would be really sad. But overall, the weirdo wide receivers, they're still overall chill people. It's just that they sometimes perform some of the weirdest things you'll ever see humans perform. And again, they have you questioning their sanity every once in a while. Our second category of NFL wide receivers are the divas. Now, wide receivers being divas is about as common as Italy missing the World Cup nowadays. It's basically a stereotype of that position. It's basically secondhand nature, with obviously them having extravagant personalities. They want to be involved in the game a lot, and then when they aren't, they can throw absolute temper tantrums because they have big and very fragile egos. I'm obviously alluding to A.J. Brown. He was very upset with the team all of last season, with him getting into arguments with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, him posting Bible verses on Twitter, channeling his inner Regina George, I guess. But if we can talk about other divas, we can talk about NFL history with Randy Moss, with him obviously saying that he takes plays off every once in a while, and then his antics with the Raiders ended up making him very unhappy with the team. And overall, his divaness, I guess, gets very overlooked because he was so good, but he was still won regardless. Or what about Deebo Samuel, who in 2021 was an absolute monster, but then when it's time for him to get paid, he was throwing a hissy fit because he didn't want to play multiple positions at once, and overall he was getting very fatigued. He ended up signing the contract after a lot of moaning in 2022, but trust me, that time was incredibly annoying, and honestly, that time, I really want to forget it, to be honest. Overall, contracts, they kind of do unlock the inner prima donna in some of these NFL wide receivers. Look at someone like Terry McLaurin, who was threatening to hold out all of last year's offseason because he wasn't getting his money. Or what about Brandon Ayuk? It also took a long time for him to get the contract, but I'm not going to lie, Brandon Ayuk is a whole nother can of worms. But then when it comes to other divas, we can't obviously forget about Terrell Owens with his on the field and off the field antics. His extravagant personality honestly ended up harming him in the long run, with his personality ended up being the reason why he was snubbed from the Hall of Fame for a couple of years, even though he did get in eventually. Or what about Steve Smith Sr. with his nonstop trash talking? We obviously know about a lot about his personality. Overall, I can go on and on about a lot of these wide receivers who were divas. It's just kind of in the nature of these guys when it comes to that position. It's kind of just in their DNA. But speaking of DNA, what about people that have blood on their hands? I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of proud of that transition. We are moving on to the final tier, and we are talking about the scum of the earth, the terrible people, the people that have gotten in trouble with the law in the past. Obviously, I'm alluding to Rashee Rice with him getting into a car crash and then fleeing the scene after that. Overall, right now, he hasn't really shown any remorse for that crash. And honestly, screw the Chiefs for wearing these free 4 shirts last year. I'm really glad that Jalen Preachy knocked the Sonic rings out of him. Or obviously, we can talk about someone like Henry Ruggs, who in 2021 got into a car crash, which ended up killing a woman and her dog. Just the overall terrible situation around him. And he is in jail right now. I don't know if he's going to return, but right now, it doesn't seem like it, nor should he. Or we can talk about Plaxico Burress, who in 2008 shot himself in the thigh accidentally, and he ended up getting a felony charge. Or even someone recently, like Julian Edelman. He was accused of SA in 2011. He was accused of vandalism in 2020, and he was also suspended for PEDs in 2018. I'm not gonna lie, if you guys meet your heroes, honestly, never meet your heroes because they can turn out to be pretty bad people. But the fourth and final category of these wide receivers is overall a combo meal of all 3 categories that I have talked about in the past to build our perfect stereotypical wide receiver, a combination of weirdos, divas, and I guess if you want to say criminals. Obviously, I can talk about someone like Stephon Diggs, who is definitely a little freaky with how some of those players in the Vikings locker room were talking about him, about not dating their sister. He was obviously a bit of a diva in his time in Buffalo, with him kind of forcing his way out. And now with some of the legal trouble that he's facing, with him allegedly strangling a woman earlier last year, it's not looking very good for Mr. Diggs over here. But of course, we can't talk about wide receivers without the poster boy, the LeBron James of problematic wide receivers, Antonio Brown. Let's just list off a couple of the things that Antonio Brown did. Crash out on live TV and leave a game literally in the 3rd quarter. Giving himself frostbite after entering a cryo chamber without proper equipment. Calling one of his coaches a cracker. Crashing out on some of the sidelines over not getting the ball, getting into constant arguments with his quarterback Big Ben Roethlisberger, going on Facebook Live after a playoff game and basically leaking Mike Tomlin's speech, having a fake vaccination card in his time with Tampa Bay, getting naked in public in a pool in Dubai, getting arrested multiple times, one for sexual assault in 2020. Look, I could go on and on about Antonio Brown's antics. I could probably make a whole video about his antics. Screw Vontaze Burfict because you completely ruined him. But again, Antonio Brown, he is literally the poster boy for problematic wide receivers. But why exactly is it specifically the wide receiver that acts like this all the time? Well, in my opinion, it's because they have a massive ego that is really left unchecked because they aren't really media trained as much as a position that also has a lot of ego, like quarterbacks. With them being so talented and them having so many of these highlight reels, it just continues to inflate their ego and it's really never checked. So then that cycle never ends. We're really never going to see a ton of receivers, a world of receivers where there aren't a couple of really weird personalities, which is honestly what makes me respect Justin Jefferson so much. With all the BS that he had been dealing with in his entire career, I'm honestly surprised that he's not a weirdo or a diva. And honestly, I respect Justin Jefferson for that. But anyways, that is all I have for you guys today. If you guys enjoyed this, please subscribe and please like, as any support is truly appreciated. And I'll see you guys in the next one.